I want you to think about something I noticed after more than 30 years of practicing medicine. There is a moment that happens in almost every person's life, usually somewhere around 60 or 65, when they begin to feel that their body is changing in ways they cannot quite explain. They wake up a little more tired than they used to. They notice their knees hurt after a walk that never bothered them before. They forget a name or a word that should come easily. And in that moment, many people make a decision without even realizing it. They decide that this is just what getting old feels like, that there is nothing to be done about it, that decline is inevitable and they simply have to accept it. But let me tell you something I learned after watching thousands of patients move through their 60s, 70s, and 80s. The people who live the longest and healthiest lives after 63 are not the ones who accept decline as inevitable. They are the ones who pay attention to certain signs, certain patterns in their bodies and their behaviors, and they make small but deliberate changes based on what they notice. And the difference between those who do this and those who do not is not just a few extra years of life. It is the difference between spending your later years vibrant and engaged or spending them struggling with illness and limitation. After decades of studying the science of aging and observing real people navigate this stage of life, I have come to understand that there are 5 signs that predict with remarkable accuracy how long someone will live after 63. These are not vague ideas or folk wisdom. They are rooted in research that has followed tens of thousands of people over decades and observed what actually happens to the human body as it ages. And the most important thing I want you to understand is that these signs are not fixed. They are not a sentence handed down by genetics or fate. They are windows into your daily choices, and almost every one of them can be influenced by what you decide to do starting today. The first sign is something most people completely overlook because they think it has nothing to do with longevity. It is your walking speed. I know that sounds almost too simple to be true, but let me explain why this matters so much. After years of seeing patients in my practice, I began to notice that the ones who walked slowly, who shuffled rather than strode, who took small, cautious steps instead of confident ones, were the same people who ended up in the hospital more often, who developed more chronic conditions, who lost their independence earlier. At first I thought this was just a consequence of being sick. If you are unwell, of course you walk more slowly. But then the research started coming in, and it told a different story. Scientists found that walking speed is not just a result of poor health, it is a predictor of it. Your walking speed reflects the strength of your muscles, the health of your cardiovascular system, the function of your brain, and the efficiency of your metabolism all at once. When you walk, your body has to coordinate balance, strength, oxygen delivery, and cognitive processing. It is one of the most complex physical tasks we do every day, even though we take it for granted. And when any part of that system starts to break down, your walking speed slows. Studies have shown that people who walk faster than about 3 feet per second, which is a normal, comfortable pace, live significantly longer than those who walk slower. The difference is not small. We are talking about years of life. And here is the part that matters most. Walking speed can be improved. If you are walking slowly now, it does not mean you are doomed. It means your body is telling you something. It is asking for more movement, more strength, more challenge. I have seen people in their 70s who started walking just a little bit more each day, who added some simple strength exercises, who pushed themselves gently but consistently, and within months their walking speed increased, And with it, their energy, their balance, their confidence. This is not about running marathons. It is about moving through the world with strength and purpose instead of hesitation and fear. The second sign is how well you can get up from a chair or the floor without using your hands. I cannot tell you how many times I have watched a patient struggle to stand up from a sitting position, bracing themselves on the armrests, pushing hard, grimacing with effort. And when I ask them about it, they tell me it has been getting harder for months or even years, but they never thought to mention it because they assumed it was just part of getting older. But this is not just about convenience or comfort. The ability to rise from a seated position without using your hands is a direct measure of your muscle strength, your joint health, and your overall physical resilience. There is a test called the sit-to-rise test that researchers have used in large studies, and what they found is striking. People who can sit on the floor and stand back up with little or no support from their hands have dramatically lower rates of death over the next several years compared to those who struggle or cannot do it at all. The reason is that this movement requires strong legs, a stable core, flexible hips, good balance, and coordination. All of these things decline as we age, but they do not have to decline as fast as they do in most people. When you lose the ability to get up and down easily, you lose independence. You start avoiding activities that require you to sit on the floor or in low chairs. You become more sedentary. You lose even more strength. It becomes a cycle that accelerates decline. But if you can maintain or rebuild that strength, everything changes. You stay active, you stay engaged, you keep doing the things that make life worth living. And this is something you can work on. You do not need a gym or expensive equipment. You just need to practice the movement. Sit down in a chair and stand up without using your hands. Do it 10 times. Do it every day. If it is too hard, start by using one hand. Then try with less support. Over time, your body will adapt. Your muscles will get stronger. Your balance will improve. And you will be giving yourself a gift that extends far beyond the simple act of standing up. You will be preserving your ability to live independently and with dignity. The third sign has to do with something even more fundamental, and that is your body composition, specifically the amount of muscle you carry relative to fat. After we hit our 40s and 50s, most people start losing muscle mass. It happens slowly at first, maybe a pound or two a year, but it accelerates as we get older. And because many people are not weighing themselves carefully or paying attention to how their clothes fit, they do not notice. They might even think they are doing fine because their weight stays the same. But what is actually happening is that they are losing muscle and gaining fat. And even though the number on the scale does not change, their body composition is shifting in a dangerous direction. Muscle is metabolically active. It burns calories even when you are resting. It helps regulate blood sugar. It supports your joints and bones. It protects you from falls. It keeps your metabolism healthy. Fat, especially the kind that accumulates around your organs, does the opposite. It promotes inflammation. It increases insulin resistance. It raises your risk of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. I have had patients come to me in their mid-60s who look relatively healthy on the outside, but when we measure their body composition, they have lost so much muscle that they are what we call sarcopenic, which means their muscle mass has fallen below a healthy threshold. And these are the people who end up frail, who break a hip and never fully recover, who develop diabetes seemingly out of nowhere, who lose their independence much earlier than they should. The research is very clear on this. People who maintain higher levels of muscle mass as they age live longer and healthier lives. But here is the hard truth that most people do not want to hear. You cannot maintain muscle mass just by walking or doing light exercise. You need resistance. You need to challenge your muscles with weight or resistance bands or body weight exercises that make them work hard enough to grow. I am not talking about becoming a bodybuilder. I am talking about doing simple exercises like squats, push-ups, rows, lunges, movements that use multiple muscle groups and require effort. And you need to eat enough protein. Most older adults do not eat nearly enough. They have smaller appetites. They skip meals. They eat too many carbohydrates and not enough meat, fish, eggs, beans, dairy. Your muscles need protein to repair and grow, especially as you age. If you are not giving your body what it needs, it will break down muscle to get it. I tell my patients to aim for at least 20 to 30 grams of protein at each meal, and to do some form of resistance exercise at least 2 or 3 times a week. It does not have to be complicated. It just has to be consistent, and the results are profound. People who do this maintain their strength, their metabolism, their independence. They do not become frail. They do not fade away. They stay strong and capable well into their 80s and 90s. The fourth sign is something that surprises people because it feels less physical and more social, and that is the quality and depth of your relationships. After decades of research, scientists have discovered that loneliness and social isolation are as dangerous to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That is not an exaggeration. That is what the data shows. People who are lonely, who lack meaningful connections, who do not have people they can talk to and rely on, die younger. They have higher rates of heart disease, depression, dementia, and nearly every other chronic condition you can name. And this is not just about being around people. You can be surrounded by others and still feel deeply lonely. What matters is the quality of your relationships. Do you have people you trust? Do you have conversations that matter? Do you feel seen and valued? Do you have purpose and connection in your daily life? I have seen this pattern over and over. The patients who thrive in their later years are the ones who maintain strong bonds with family and friends, who stay involved in their communities, who volunteer or participate in groups or simply make time to talk with people they care about. And the ones who struggle are often the ones who have withdrawn, who stopped reaching out, who let old friendships fade, who convince themselves that they do not need anyone. Sometimes this happens because of loss. A spouse dies, friends move away or pass on, adult children get busy with their own lives, and it becomes easy to retreat, to stay home, to let the world shrink. But isolation accelerates aging in ways that are both physical and mental. When you are lonely, your stress hormones stay elevated, your inflammation increases, your immune system weakens, your brain gets less stimulation, your sense of purpose fades. I want you to think about this honestly. How often do you have a real conversation with someone you care about? Not small talk, but a conversation where you feel heard and connected. When was the last time you laughed with a friend or felt part of something larger than yourself? If the answer is that it has been a while, I want you to know that this is not something you have to accept. You can rebuild connection. You can reach out to an old friend. You can join a group or a class. You can volunteer. You can show up at a place where people gather and start talking. It might feel awkward at first, especially if you have been isolated for a while, but connection is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with practice. And the impact on your longevity is real. People with strong social ties live years longer than those without them. They recover faster from illness. They experience less cognitive decline. They have more reasons to take care of themselves. Relationships are not a luxury. They are a biological necessity. The fifth sign is perhaps the most powerful and the most overlooked, and it is your sense of purpose. This is something that goes beyond hobbies or pastimes. It is the feeling that your life has meaning, that you have a reason to get up in the morning, that what you do matters to someone or something beyond yourself. In cultures where people live the longest, like the blue zones that researchers have studied extensively, nearly every centenarian has a strong sense of purpose. In Okinawa, they call it ikigai. In Costa Rica, they call it plan de vida. It translates roughly to reason for being, and what the research shows is that people who have this sense of purpose, who feel that their life has direction and meaning, live significantly longer than those who do not. The difference is not subtle. We are talking about years, sometimes even a decade or more, and this is not about grand achievements or fame or wealth. It is about having something that makes you feel needed and valuable. Maybe you help care for a grandchild. Maybe you tend a garden. Maybe you volunteer at a food bank or a library. Maybe you mentor someone younger. Maybe you create art or write or teach. It does not matter what it is. What matters is that it connects you to something beyond yourself and gives your days a sense of structure and importance. I have watched what happens to people when they retire and suddenly have no purpose. They had spent decades working, and their identity was tied to their job, and then one day it is gone, and they do not know what to do with themselves. They watch television, they putter around the house, they feel restless and unmoored, and within a few years their health starts to decline. They lose energy, they lose interest, they stop taking care of themselves. I have seen this happen so many times, and it breaks my heart because it is preventable. On the other hand, I have patients who retired and immediately threw themselves into something new. They started a nonprofit, they became mentors, they learned a new language or instrument, they traveled with intention, they found ways to contribute. And these people stay sharp and engaged and healthy well into their 80s. Purpose protects your brain. It gives you a reason to stay physically active and socially connected. It reduces stress and gives you resilience in the face of challenges. When you have purpose, you do not give up easily. You keep moving forward even when things are hard. And that mindset, that determination, that sense that you still have something to offer the world is one of the most powerful predictors of longevity I have ever seen. Now let me bring all of this together because I do not want you to hear these 5 signs as a checklist or a test that you either pass or fail. That is not the point. The point is that your body is always communicating with you. It is telling you what it needs. And these 5 signs, your walking speed, your ability to rise from a chair, your muscle mass, your relationships, and your sense of purpose are not just abstract markers. They are reflections of how you are living right now. And the beautiful thing, the hopeful thing, is that every single one of them can be improved. You are not stuck. You are not defined by where you are today. If you are walking slowly, you can walk more and build strength. If you struggle to stand up, you can practice and get stronger. If you have lost muscle, you can rebuild it with resistance training and proper nutrition. If you are lonely, you can reach out and create connection. If you feel aimless, you can find purpose. None of this requires perfection. It does not require wealth or access to expensive treatments. It requires awareness and intention and small, consistent actions over time. I have seen people transform their health in their 70s and 80s by making these kinds of changes. I have seen people who were on a path toward frailty and dependence turn things around and reclaim their vitality. It is never too late. Your body has a remarkable capacity to adapt and heal if you give it what it needs. And what it needs is not complicated. It needs movement. It needs strength. It needs nourishment. It needs connection. It needs purpose. These are not luxuries. They are essentials. And when you provide them, your body responds. You feel better. You move better. You think more clearly. You have more energy. You enjoy life more. And yes, you live longer. But more importantly, you live better. Because longevity without quality is not a gift. What matters is not just how many years you have, but how much life you have in those years. I want you to think about the person you want to be at 80 or 90. Do you want to be someone who is vital and independent, who still does the things they love, who is present and engaged with the people around them? Or do you want to be someone who is frail and dependent, who spends their days in front of a television, who has given up on the possibility of joy and meaning? That choice is being made right now in the small decisions you make every single day, every time you choose to move instead of sitting, every time you choose real food instead of processed convenience, every time you reach out to a friend instead of isolating, every time you do something that gives your life meaning instead of just passing time. Those choices accumulate, they compound, they shape the trajectory of your life. And the science is very clear. The people who make those choices consistently, who prioritize their health and their relationships and their purpose, are the ones who live the longest and the best. So I want to leave you with this. You have more control over how you age than you probably realize. Genetics play a role, yes, but they are not destiny. Your daily habits, your mindset, your willingness to stay engaged with life, these things matter far more than most people understand. The 5 signs I have talked about today are not just predictors of longevity. They are invitations. They are your body asking you to pay attention, to take action, to invest in yourself. And if you do, if you take this seriously and make even small changes, you will not just add years to your life. You will add life to your years. And that, more than anything else, is what I want for you. Not just a long life, but a good one. A life where you stay strong and capable and connected. A life where you wake up with purpose and go to bed satisfied. A life where you do not fade away, but continue to grow and contribute and find meaning until your very last day. That is possible. I have seen it happen, and it can happen for you.